recording. All right, hello and good morning, everybody. My name is Lucas Yanni. I'm a transportation planner with the Mid-America Regional Council, and I'm going to be walking us through the 2026 FTA Section 5310 pre-application workshop for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. So going straight through here to the agenda, I've already introduced myself. If we can all either, I think let's introduce in the chat here. Put your name and what organization you're with. And then I'll have the KCATA staff introduce themselves because they will be helping with the Q&A at the end, specifically regarding vehicle purchases and all that. So again, Lucas Yanni, Mid-America Regional Council, and I'll pass it to Tina.
I am Tina Medina with KCATA. I have been with the organization about a month, and I really enjoy the staff. And I have very fond memories of this fund because I used to work at Comprehensive Mental Health Services. So I know the value of what this money can do, and to be able to help the elderly and disabled with transportation is a big deal to me. So thank you. And a couple of other members should be here too. Thanks.
Beautiful. Yep, that's why we do it. Yes, do we have any other KCATA staff on that would like to go ahead and introduce themselves? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the next item here. So a little bit about the program background. So as we know, Section 5310, we just call it 5310. It's a federally funded program that assists with the purchases of vehicles, capital projects, and in some case operations that support mobility programs and services for older adults and individuals with disabilities. For the Kansas City region, we have KCATA, they're our designated federal recipient, and MARC will help administer this process. So that's kind of the basics here. The goal of the program is to support public transportation services and alternatives that work with people who have special mobility needs and work with the lives of older adults and people with disabilities. And the funding should prioritize kind of gaps in the system or places where public transportation is not accessible, insufficient, or an inappropriate mode to move somebody that has a special mobility need. The program aims to improve mobility by removing those barriers and expanding transportation mobility options. So with all that, if you want to dive in more and learn a lot about the program, you can read the circular 9070.1H, and it's a wonderful read. But yes, that actually has a lot of great information about the program. So I have a link to that, and we'll be sharing that later, just in case you need to look at that. The application schedule itself, we did start on June 3rd at 9 a.m. I sent a public notice out, and the call for projects has officially opened. So some people have already started their applications, and that's fine. This is, to kind of help walk through all the details of that if people need help or need to have a little bit of extra guidance on that. We are at the second point here at the pre-application workshop. Thank you all for participating. And then up next, the actual deadline is July 17th at 4 p.m. We'll close. So we have about a month from now to go ahead and get an application in for this program if you so choose. After that, we're going to go through the eligibility and administrative scoring of these applications in the late July period. And then we'll go ahead and work with the MAC, the Mobility Advisory Committee, to kind of prepare recommendations and get our priorities all laid out. We'll have a special meeting on August 12th for that to discuss. And then in September, we'll release this for the decisions that is for public review and comment. And then the boards of KCATA and MARC will go ahead and take a look at it and approve or not. And then by the end of the year, in December, January, KCATA will submit their applications or their program of projects to FTA. So that's the kind of roadmap that lies ahead. And then now just getting into the first item here, funding availability. So we have this kind of nutrition facts table on the side here. We have about $2.2 million this round to be programmed competitively. these numbers come from the FTA Table 8, which outlines each year's apportionment. And then MARC and KCATA take a percentage up to 10% for administration. And then KCATA, being a large provider, retains some operations funds to continue their mobility projects and serve the region there. So after all is said and done, we have $2.2 million to program. This is more than last year, or last round, I should say, by about, I think, $400,000. So it's a good bump there. So we should be able to hopefully fund a few more projects or some projects to a higher degree. Going into the mechanics of this, the match requirements, I think most of us are familiar, but if you're not, it's an 80% federal match, 20% local match. There are a couple exceptions to this when there's a vehicle purchase or vehicle-related equipment and facilities. So I'll talk to a little bit more on the next slide. And also, in which case, the incremental costs of the equipment may be funded up to 90% with 5310 funds. So again, these are exceptions, but generally speaking, 80-20 split is what we're looking at here. MARC charges a project fee equal to 1% of federal funds awarded, and sponsors of projects awarded funding will be invoiced for this fee after the programming is completed, not before, so don't worry. And then a little bit more about those details. So the federal share may exceed 80% when these two conditions are met. So if the acquisition of vehicles for the purpose of complying with the Americans with Disabilities Act or the Clean Air Act, are in need to do that, we'll have the ability to match up to 85% with the federal share. And then the other instance here with vehicle-related equipment and facilities, you can go up to 90% if you're trying to, again, comply with the Clean Air Act or ADA. So FDA considers vehicle-related equipment to be equipment on and attached to the vehicle. So the vehicle itself is not equipment, but if you need to add special equipment to modify that vehicle, that would be appropriate usage of that fund. Yeah. Now, so the local match, where can that come from? This list here shows all the kind of eligible sources of local match. So state or local appropriations, dedicated tax revenues, donations from private individuals or entities. Looking at Joe here. Revenue from service contracts, transportation development credits, net income generated from advertising and concessions, non-share or non-cash shares such as donations, volunteer services, in-kind contributions. So there's a lot of different things here. And then non-DOT federal funds eligible for expense and transportation for employment training, aging, medical, community service, services, and rehabilitation services are all eligible match sources. So there's a lot of flexibility here, and a variety of places you can get that local match. Applicant eligibility. So there are two main types of applicants that will be applying for this. Hopefully you are one of them. Either a private nonprofit organization or a state or local governmental authority that can provide or coordinate services for seniors and individuals with disabilities, or can certify that there are no area nonprofit organizations readily available. And so you would be the only entity able to do that. Project eligibility. So for the 2026 competitive selection process, eligible capital expenses include the following here. So rolling stock, acquisition of or expansion of replacement buses or vans, related procurement, testing, inspection, and acceptance costs, vehicle rehabilitation or overhaul, preventative maintenance, radios and communication equipment, vehicle wheelchair lifts, ramps, and securement devices. So all of those things, and then there's some more here, some passenger facilities related to Section 5310 funded vehicles, meaning like benches, shelters, or other passenger amenities that would improve the kind of experience for a passenger, support facilities and equipment for Section 5310 funded vehicles. So that would be things like extended warranties, hardware and software, transit-related ITS systems, dispatch systems, fare collection systems, etc. So there's a variety already that we can work with on that, but yeah, we can interpret that as needed, but they should be something that can either support as a facility or equipment in that category. Lease of equipment when lease is more cost effective, and then the acquisition of transportation services under a contract, lease, or other arrangement. You need to have contracted services. And then capital investments that support ADA complementary paratransit services. So that was a mouthful. There's a lot here. If you need to kind of walk back through this, this is all outlined in the application guidebook, which is available on MARC's website. And I see, oh, thank you, Tina, for sharing in the chat there about that, if you want to get in touch. Um, let's see. And then projects that support mobility management and coordination programs among public transportation providers and other human services agencies uh, have all the following here. So promotion, enhancement, and facilitation of access to transportation, short-term management activities to plan and implement coordinated services, support of state and local coordination policy bodies and councils, operation of transportation brokerages, provision of coordination services such as travel training and trip planning, development and operation of one-stop transportation call centers, and then a variety of GPS, ITS, generally supported services for mapping, coordination, scheduling, etc. And again, there's a lot of information, but it is all available in the guidebook on MARC's website. So you also have to be someone that serves the Kansas City urbanized area. And just so everyone's familiar, this is that area shown in green. Projects that do not service this area should apply for 5310 funds through their respective state DOTs. So that's why KCATA is the federally designated recipient, and then we serve the Kansas City urbanized area. So if you have a service that you're hoping to get 5310 funds for that does not in any way serve this area, I would encourage you to get in touch with your either KDOT or MoDOT, and you'll apply through them. A little bit more about project eligibility. So the coordinated plan, which we worked pretty extensively with the MAC to help develop goals with, has the following 6 goals here. Again, this is available on MARC's website as well. You can go ahead and read the coordinated plan to get a little more detail about that, because these will be criteria that your project is evaluated on. So this is important here. We want to make sure that the projects and programs help support these goals. So they are maintain existing regional mobility service levels, expand regional mobility service levels, improve the quality and accessibility of information to the public, bridge gaps in the built environment to improve network accessibility, integrate and coordinate related planning efforts, communications, initiatives, and programs, and support regional transportation goals. So of all of these, there are strategies that are listed in the coordinated plan for each goal, and those will be criteria that you say that, yes, my project meets this because of criteria 1, 2, and 3, etc. So you'll go ahead and make the case in your application for that. And I won't go into all the details on that because that'll take a little bit of time to do. I might come back at the end with our discussion. Then for staff scoring, all projects, regardless of the goal or strategy picked out, will be scored using using this criteria on a high, medium, and low scale. So we'll be giving 1 point to low, 3 points to medium, and 5 points for high, and that is how we'll kind of aggregate that. So the 5 main criteria here that will be used to evaluate are: does it use data to demonstrate need? Does it engage with service populations? Does it demonstrate cost effectiveness? Does it help establish partnerships? And does it communicate services effectively? So all these things, very important for the scoring. And then other considerations, less quantitative and more qualitative, is the service regional in nature? Does the service have scalability? Does it improve accessibility, especially for older adults and people with disabilities, and expanding the coverage there? Does it have efficient cost and feasibility for what it hopes to achieve? And then related, but project budget, explanation of costs, estimates. So if you have everything costed out, does it make sense? Can you defend that? And, all of that. So to get into the kind of details now with the application portal, this is live, and it will, like I said, remain live until July 17th at 4 p.m. It can be accessed at this address. Again, a lot of these links are on MARC's website on the 5310 page, but this is a direct link to the portal. If you have any issues logging in, please let me know. There's also a forgot your password button or report issue button there. So our kind of data and digital services team will see that and can address it. So they are standing by to help address any of these issues. And these are some of those links I was talking about, the useful resources. So if you ever have a question that you just kind of want to look up on your own, the application guidebook should include all of the criteria needed for this application. But there's always, exceptions in the case of like if you have questions that aren't specifically listed in there, like can I use this for that, or is this an eligible expense, etc. In that case, feel free to reach out to either me or Tina, like she put her number in the chat here, if you need more information that isn't explicitly outlined in that guidebook. The coordinated plan, that will be a good place to look for all those goals and strategies. That will be good criteria for the application itself. Smart Moves 3, so that's our current on the books version of Smart Moves, which is our regional transit plan. We want to make sure that we're, again, looking at other plans and supporting the goals in those. And then the program webpage itself, again, marc.org/5310. A lot of resources can be found there. And then the circular from FTA if you want to read the program itself. So that leads us to Q&A. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and just share a lot of those links so you can see what they would look like. We had this news announcement. You can access the portal guidebook. You don't need to register for this anymore since that's right now. And then the program page itself, which is this. So a little of the detail, a link to the coordinated plan, a little of the details on who's eligible, some of the expenses, just kind of a cursory look here. And then for the strategies, table 1 here in the coordinated plan, very close to the front of the plan itself, has the 6 goals, and then each of these boxes under here is a strategy to meet that goal. So you will be asked in the application, do you support this goal with which strategy? So that should kind of get you oriented around that. The guidebook itself, again, there's links on the page. You can read through it. The circular, and then I think I had that open again. So with all that said, I'd like to open up the floor to questions. I know that I received some the other day about specifics. So go ahead and let us know what your thoughts are.
I have a question. Can you hear me? I don't.
Yeah, go ahead, Emily.
My name's Emily Fink. I am helping a Good Samaritan Society location apply. My question is about procurement. Do you provide a menu of vehicles that we should pick from, or do we go out and get bids ourselves? How does that work? What do you prefer?
Yeah, do you want to go ahead and answer that, Tina? A little bit more of the vehicle question side with KCATA.
I'm going to share what I know, and that's not a whole lot at this time because I'm just getting on board. But generally, there will be a list, and I do want to share something with everyone. Please be advised that there's no American manufactured sedans available in the marketplace for the 25-26 FTA program. And so at this time, our grants department and our procurement department were exploring several options, including purchasing through other organizations, contracts, and we are requesting a general Buy American waiver from the FTA. And so generally we will buy the vehicles through our procurement program. And right now, some of our agencies are considering alternative vehicles, but we are diligently trying to work through this issue because of, I guess it was COVID and different auto manufacturing facilities that in their lack of parts, we are struggling on the sedans right now. But that doesn't mean that we're, if you have any additional questions, that you can reach out to me, and I will reach out with our procurement people and Tracy Logan as well. She's probably been your contact prior to me, but we're working together diligently and with my boss, Leah Sutton, to be as attentive as possible.
Okay, so you're saying there will be a menu, a list that we get to pick from. Is that available? When do you think that'll be available?
I don't know, but I will find out for you, ma'am.
Oh, okay. That'd be helpful because we have our own internal processes and steps we need to take. And then, like another state, like in Colorado, we procured ourselves, and we were awarded, and then the state gave us a list. So it was a little backwards. Every state's a little different. So yeah.
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can I follow up to that question? Do we
Yes,
just do
please.
our best to estimate what the cost of the type of vehicle we're looking for since we don't have the exact model and exact price at this time?
I will look into that as well on
Okay.
the estimation of the prices, because I don't know at this point. But
Yeah,
again, as
just
soon as I'm up to speed, I will share the information with you.
Understand.
yeah.
Thank you, Tina.
And
Thank you.
as far as I'm aware, like adjustments can be made because of unforeseen kind of inflationary pressure or circumstances like that. So yeah, just work closely with KCATA through the process, and we'll do our best to make sure that you get what you need. And I see Roxana.
Yes. Couple different questions. One, can you kind of give me an idea of what uh, the driver, what kind of training the organization and or the driver need to kind of be going through, and what that, how in depth is that, and where do we get that kind of training? Because I could spend all day, I guess, going out and finding the resources for that particular training. So I want to check on that. And then two, kind of on the audit, how do you monitor that everybody's staying within the rules of the game, so to speak? And kind of what happens when somebody's not meeting this part, and can they get back on track? So I want to know what happens if, have you ever had anybody that you disqualified at the end because they weren't following the rules?
I know
Oh yeah, go ahead, Tina.
go ahead. I know we are now going to be conducting site visits, and we do have a team of people that will look into the monitoring as well. So again, I'll get back with you on a formal answer, but that's all I know to date.
See, Desiree.
Yes, good morning. Two questions. One to piggyback on the vehicle estimates. Should the estimate include retrofitting, or should that be submitted as a separate project?
I think that you can include the retrofitting on that.
Okay, then second question, what if we have two projects, one for vehicles and then another for equipment?
Those would be
Should
two
that be
separate, yeah,
two
two separate
separate?
projects, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And then Joe?
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and
Yes.
clear.
Okay. Do we know what kind of time frame we'll be looking at on vehicles?
You mean like after the applications are all processed and everything?
Yeah, because like we're still waiting on our 23, 24s.
Oh, yeah, that is something I'm not aware of personally. I do know that the program itself requires that the funds be obligated within 2 years of being awarded. So yeah, hopefully soon. Tina or other KCATA staff may have better answers on the timeline for that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I will get back with you, Joe, on that answer.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
And as always, feel free to email me directly, and I can help connect. I'll put my email in the chat so everyone has it.
I have another question.
Yeah, go for it.
If this is the applicant's first request for 5310 funding, but it's not a new project for them, is that something you'd like us to mark as start a new project or replacement?
Let me start a new one. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's what I thought.
I also recall there was a question about sam.gov. If you were in the process of creating that, you will need to be fully finished with that and have a identifier from that. So you have to make sure that that's completed before the end of the application on July 17th. And we can work if there's, exceptions or unforeseen circumstances, we can see if we could make accommodation for that. But just work with me directly if you need.
I have a question.
Yes. Who
This
is
is
this?
Laura.
Thank you. Yeah,
Laura,
go ahead, Laura.
hi. The materials I've looked at have mentioned buses or vans. Last time we received an SUV. Do you even know yet? Maybe Tina has an idea about that, whether that's going to be an option?
We're still doing our research and I'm
Okay.
looking into that right now. But again, as soon as I find out, what I would recommend is that give me like 3 days, Monday, and then just call me back and I'll take your name and the specific question, and then I'll reach out with my team and we'll get the right answer for you.
Okay, some of these questions I probably apply to a lot of us, like the list of vehicles. You're just going to send that out to everybody, I assume?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I think the best course of action for these questions, which a lot of people have, is I'll send a follow-up email after this once we get all that together to kind of summarize the Q&A here and create like an FAQ list. So obviously there's some questions that multiple people have that we can go ahead and post to our project page to help answer those questions. I have gotten in touch with a couple people at the DOT for our region because like Tina let me know that this is kind of a recent thing that's happened. So it's kind of shifted a lot of, especially with the sedans, how our understanding of the vehicles and getting vehicles could work. But they say that there is a waiver applicable to SUVs as long as they meet the statutory definition for a van pool vehicle, which is seating for at least 6 adults, not including the driver. So hopefully that's a little bit more clarification on SUVs. I know that there's a lot of, certain circumstances and questions that we need to ask. So we'll compile a list of everything and get that back out to you guys. So I appreciate. Any other questions while we are on?
Yes, this is Shauna.
Mhm.
I have two more. If there's others that I can't see that are waiting, please let me know.
No, you're
If,
okay.
okay, if awarded, will the grantee or sub-grantee need to develop a transit asset management plan, or could they participate in an existing one in the region?
I think you can participate in an existing one, but I'm gonna have to double check on that, just to be sure. So,
And then I'm sorry, can I just double check when you all talk about physical infrastructure in the application, that's not a capital vehicle. That would be like a shelter or something like that, correct?
correct, yeah. So we have the two separate categories. Even though they're both capital expenditures, we make a distinction between the vehicles and then any infrastructure or facilities that support the vehicles. And like, if you add things to a vehicle, that's still considered infrastructure.
This is Jim. There's one thing you may want to look at town at transit asset management. Especially if it's applicable to providing public transportation as opposed to your specialized transit and not particularly to the public. And that's where that transit asset management differentiates.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate that.
Yeah, just one note also is that when folks do their proposals, to understand that, as what you get awarded federally, the federal funds remain the same, but the cost could raise. So it's kind of one of those things to where, you hope for that 20%, and I think the key is to get cost of vehicles as close as you can, you know.
Yeah, that was a particular problem last round with the inflation. So the costs that were originally earmarked did not quite meet the actual expenses as accurately after that.
So you're saying the award won't change even if the price goes up. The agency would have to just make up the difference.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Okay. No, it's just good to know up front. Thanks.
Are there any other problems that you had in the last go around? Anything else? Just any difficulties that most organizations experience?
That's a good question. I think that generally speaking, it went smoothly, but I will say that that last project or last problem that we mentioned with the inflation and the changing cost was an issue, and then the I guess delivery of vehicles. Um, those have been the two kind of sticking points from the last round. And if we have other questions, either after we close out or anything at all, again, feel free to email me. You have Tina's number. We'll be working closely with KCATA throughout this process, especially with the vehicles, since that's the kind of most important piece of this is delivering and getting those out. Again, anytime, let me know if you need help. And hopefully all the resources that have been shared have been useful. This is my contact information on the screen here. If you want to call me, that's my desk phone, and you have my email. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and end the recording unless there are further questions. It looks like there are not. So again, I appreciate all of you attending. And I know that this is a kind of stressful time going through the applications and getting all the criteria you need. But we want to be here to help you guys through that process. So again, thanks for attending, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you very much.